everybody. Welcome to Learning the Scottish Great Highland Bagpipe with me, J.D. Ingram, pipe major of the Charleston Pipe Band. This week we're going to be learning
Lesson 22, the Great Highland Bagpipe, Part 2. Your goal is to be able to tune a set of bagpipe drones and identify factors that affect your tone quality and discuss the importance of blowing steadily. We'll focus on maintenance aspects of bagpipes and how to improve the sound of your setup. Your homework is to attempt to play all of the tunes that we have learned so far from memory. Okay, let's talk about tuning bagpipes. First off, what does it mean to be in tune? Well, we know that sound travels in the form of waves, right, through the air. Sound waves are measured with frequencies, which is a measure of how often the peak of a wave comes past a point in space, or you can kind of just think about it as the distance between two peaks of a wave. You can picture measuring waves traveling across the surface of water. They could be a foot from top to top, or 6 inches from top to top, or whatever. And an octave is the distance from your low A to your high A on your practice chanter, and that is defined as double the wave frequency. So if in our wave example, two waves traveling across water, if one is a foot and the next one is 6 inches, or half of a foot for people who don't use the imperial system, that is an octave. And when waves are traveling along together and they line up where the peaks are at the same point or the troughs are at the same point, those reinforce each other and create a resonant, harmonious sound. When they line up sometimes, but don't other times, this creates a coming and going of that resonance, which creates kind of a beating, wah, wah, wah type sound. And this can be quite displeasant to listen to. So this is what we want to avoid, and this is why we tune our bagpipes. Drones, when they're playing on the Highland pipes, have a single frequency that they are set at. However, they will go up or down slightly in pitch if you blow harder or softer. And so this is a key skill to understand and to practice, is steady blowing or steady squeezing of the bag to make sure that your drones are steady and can be adjusted to be in tune at all times. The methods to tune is kind of taking things step by step. First off, you want to make sure your low A and your high A are an octave apart. If you're not sure how to hear that, think about the first two notes of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That somewhere, that's an octave right there. And that's what your low A to high A should sound like. Then your next easy step will be to tune one of your tenor drones to low A, just one, and then tune your two tenors together, and then tune your bass drone to your tenor drones. It's a nice step-by-step tuning process. And of course, making sure you're blowing steady the whole time.
All right, so let's demonstrate a little bit about what I mean to tune your pipes. I'm gonna just do my two tenor drones because those are the easiest to hear. I think I have them pretty close to in tune. I'm gonna move them out of tune so you can hear that beating, and then I'll move them back in tune so you can hear that beating get slowly less frequent and then eventually reach full resonance. So listen for that real quick. there I went, I was close to in tune, I went way out of tune, and then I got back to that perfect resonance, and then I went out of tune the other direction, and then back to the resonance. And you could hear how it got more pleasant, when it was in tune and kind of unsettled and moving, if you will. So that's the sound that you're looking for, and it's going to be most apparent when you have two of the identical sounds trying to tune together, like your two tenor drones. Your bass drone is an octave down from your tenor drones. You should still be able to hear the beating, but it is a little more difficult to pick out because there is, like I mentioned, they're only lining up half the time compared to all the time with the tenor drones. The resonances, if you will, in the waves, in the sound waves. So there's kind of some tricks that you might practice just playing one tenor and one bass and trying to listen for that resonance. It's also a little difficult with your low A to your tenors. Those are about the same pitch. Actually, I believe those are technically an octave apart as well. But they also have the added difficulty of being a slightly different tonal quality. Just the same as, like a trumpet and a piano can play exactly the same pitch, but because they're different instruments, your ear picks up on them differently, and so it's gonna, they sound different even if it's the same pitch. Your chanter being a double reed and your drones being a single reed have a different tonal quality, so there's a slightly different way to listen to. But to practice tuning your ear, to listen for those resonant wah 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 sounds, I would say practice with your two tenors and then maybe a tenor and a bass, or your tenor and your chanter low A, and find those. Just get it's going to be practice. Find the beats. Get rid of the beats by moving the slides up and down, and you will eventually master listening to that harmony. And then we can work on the other intricacies of tuning.
All right, let's talk a little bit about maintaining your bagpipes. As we all know, Murphy's Law is that what can go wrong will go wrong, so we need to take good care of our pipes so that they take good care of us. A few tips to avoid major malfunctions include checking your bag to make sure it's airtight. This is accomplished by blowing it up and seeing if it holds air if you have it corked up, just like a balloon. You want to check the hemp airtightness as well. The hemp where the stocks meet the bag and the drone slides and the reeds are seated into the reed seats should all be fairly tight. You'll also want to make sure that when you replace the hemp, that it is done methodically and tightly, as loose hemp can come loose or swell or change and allow air through. Teflon over the hemp on the drone slides can be a good idea. This allows for that surface to be smooth and slightly slippery and can make the drones much easier to tune. However, it's not a good idea on stocks to account for the fact that it might be overly tight and crack your drone stock when hemp swells. Speaking of hemp swelling, waxed hemp is the best way to avoid that. Always use waxed hemp on the stock joints close to the bag where the air is most humid. Never use unwaxed hemp there. That is a spot where people crack all the time because of moisture getting into unwaxed hemp and it's swelling and cracking your pipes. Next up, set your reeds up to be efficient. If your reeds all take a different amount of air, some will be overblown and some will be underblown at the same time. So make sure that they are a similar strength and the lightest strength that they need to be to accomplish the tone and pressure goals for your playing. It's also a good tip to use a lifeline on your reeds. Use a bit of hemp that goes from the reed seat to the associated stock. That way, if it comes loose while you're playing and you take the pipe out to see what's going on, it will be dangling there as opposed to lost inside your bag. And that's doubly important if you do not have a zipper bag. Speaking of a zipper bag, those are pretty common if you have a synthetic bag. However, some people still play hide bags. If you're playing a hide bag, that is a good way to manage the moisture off of your breath. But if you're playing a synthetic bag, make sure you have a water management system of some sort. because the moisture can negatively affect your reeds and pipe. And so depending on your local environment, and if you're a wet blower or not a wet blower, you might need anything from just a corrugated tube to a full setup with kitty litter and sponges and canisters and all that. So figuring that out is key. Also check out the flapper valve, the one-way air valve in your blow stick or the blow stick stock. That can be worth upgrading and maintaining, as that is a spot that does wear out over time and will allow air the wrong way. And then of course, just treat your pipes nice. Don't leave them wet or standing in water. If you have a gig where you're playing in the rain, don't just leave the water on them. Dry them off when you put them away. And consider the risks of putting them away assembled versus taking them apart. I know sometimes I will leave mine assembled when I put them away because I want them to be assembled when I take them back out to practice later that day or the next day. However, having them assembled does make them more likely to get bumped or caught on something if you're carrying them somewhere, and they certainly can develop damage over time, or even run the risk of being broken totally in half if they get caught, in a door or something. So consider that, and treat your pipes nice, and they will treat you nice, as I've said.
All right, I'm going to demonstrate just a couple of the tips I just gave you about maintenance. First up, making sure your bag is airtight. I've got my bag, took all the pipes out. I've got just the stocks here. These are the stocks. Got them corked. We're going to see if it's airtight. So that's nice and firm. I'm going to just set it here for a minute while we talk about messing with your drone reeds. So I've got a couple drone reeds here. These are MG, the original make. Got the tongue of the drone reed right there. Got the bridle. This one has a double bridle. One of is a little O-ring, and one is a little rubber grommet of sorts. And they've got the tuning pin. So these are all important aspects of the drone reed to make adjustments. First thing, air comes in under the tongue. Can't really see that there's space there, but trust me that there is. If I move the bridle, this little rubber bit, that way, I close that tongue off. And so air can't get under there. If I move the bridle that way, I allow that tongue to open up more. So that is how you can make adjustments to how air efficient your drone reeds are. If you find that by the time you're blowing hard enough to get your tenor to make noise, your drone reed goes yoop. That's because it is being the pressure is closing off this tongue. What you need to do is open the tongue up more by moving this little bridle that way. Once you've got it set at the pressure that you like, and it all works together, and all your drone reeds take about the same amount of air, and they work with the chanter, then you might find that your drones are kind of tuning in a weird spot because your chanter is pitched sharper, flatter, and if your drones are tuning way out on the pin, and my drones are tied together here, sitting loose in the bag. If my drone is in tune way out here, or alternatively way down here, that's going to cause other problems that we can get into later. The ideal is for your tenors to tune right about at the hemp line. I should just barely be able to maybe start to see the hemp, maybe not see any of it, but see most of the slide. And in order to adjust where it tunes, I can move the tuning pin. So if I want, I can screw it out like this, and that makes the reed make a lower pitched sound, and alternatively would make the drone need to tune lower on the pin to maintain the same pitch. So if I had a whole lot of hemp showing, I would screw this out, and now it would tune with less hemp showing, or it would be down on the slide. Alternatively, if my drone is in tune way down close to the mount, way down here, I want the reed itself to make a sharper pitched sound so that I can make a lower pitched, or I can tune this slide out to compensate for it. And so I do that by screwing that pin in. If you think about it, this is in the drone, so pin goes that way, slide goes that way, pin goes that way, slide goes that way. So that's another way to make adjustments. The other way you can make adjustments besides the pin is how deeply you set the reed in the seat, so adjusting how much hemp is here. And also, when you make adjustments to how hard the reed is, it will slightly adjust the pitch of the reed, making some adjustments to where it's going to tune. So a couple things about drone reeds. And of course, the big thing is going to be air efficiency. So making sure that this is seated well. I should be able to pick up the drone by the reed, no problem. If the drone had just fallen to the floor right there, that means air would be escaping around my drone reed and out the drone, and that would be wasted effort. Speaking of wasted effort, let's see if my bag's airtight. Oh, can you hear that? Looks like my flapper valve needs a little bit of TLC. My bag's still pretty full, so not a lot of air is getting out there, but the fact that I can hear it gurgling just a little bit when I squeeze means that some air is escaping out my flapper valve. So that's a task for me to get on next. And but yeah, we're at about 5 minutes since I started filming, so this has been pretty full for 4 minutes. That's not too bad. Anyways, maintain your pipes, take good care of them, and they'll take good care of you.
Thanks for joining me again, guys. Some final thoughts. Keep practicing that steady blowing. That's really important. Practice the tuning, listening for those beats in the sound, and first and foremost, maintain your bagpipes. This is the key to both of the other skills, tuning and blowing steady. If you're wasting air, you're not going to be able to blow steady. If you're not blowing steady, you're not going to be able to tune. Learn some tips and tricks from more experienced players. Literally a month before filming this, I learned something I had never heard before about maintaining my bagpipes, and I've been playing for 20 years at this point. And your homework is to continue practicing moving all of the tunes we've learned so far onto your bagpipes. Keep up the good work, guys.